Hello, my name is Darrell,
And my name is Greg.
and this is Inside the Mastermind. And today, our topic is well, let me go ahead and start with a joke. So, Greg, what did the shoe salesman, why did the shoe salesman dance all day?
Oh, that's a good one. Because he had a lot of energy that he made a lot of sales.
No, he had a whole lot of soul. Ah! Terrible, terrible, I know. But yeah, today we're going to actually talk about sales and quick tip for you: don't use that as your opener. It's probably not a good strategy. But yeah, I guess we just want to have a discussion about sales. I mean, everybody sells there to a certain degree, from a baby down up to like somebody in accounting to it just anybody you kind of talk to or interact with that is trying to influence you is selling you in some way. I mean, do you believe the same, Craig? What's your
Oh, yeah, it's funny that we're talking about this topic because of I don't know how long ago, maybe a few months, 6 months, a year ago, I actually wrote a LinkedIn article is in a blog that's entitled "Everyone Needs to Find Their Sales Niche," and I do believe definitely we are. Since we were kids selling lemonade at a lemonade stand at a yard sale or something just to try to make some money to go buy candy or a toy, we definitely all have some type of sales goal in mind that we want to have some type of product or service that we're pushing on. We're not to say push on to people, but we're actually presenting to people that can help them out. So yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's kind of depends on the industry, what you're doing. I mean, but everybody is kind of a salesperson. Even somebody in accounting is a salesperson because you're selling people on the fact that these numbers are correct. Even engineers are salespeople in a way because you're selling people on the fact that you got your math correct and whatnot. The You name it. I mean, you're kind of in sales. Like the average artist there is in sales because you have to get enough people to kind of appreciate your art to be an artist or to get paid for being an artist or whatnot. So everybody is a little bit in sales to some degree, shape, or form. And I guess one thing I wanted to kind of talk about is just how sales has evolved from, say, I don't know, 50 years ago. It was pretty much the idea of the old the the used car salesman, where you're just like, hey, you want to buy this, and go ahead and buy this. And sales have changed a lot since then. I think in today's day and age, you can't really approach people just say, hey, buy this, like do this now, and you need to go ahead and buy this. I mean, you can, but you're a lot of people will be turned off by that. I feel anyway. Like if somebody kind of, you know what, I remember, let's see, about 6 or 7 years back, I was in the market for a new car and a new car, and I remember going onto a used car lot and just kind of interacting with the people there. One guy was like kind of quickly trying to get me into their little sales office and stuff, trying to say, and I was just like, dude, I think I literally asked the question like, are you guys like kind of telling the truth here about kind of this deal or something like that? And the way he responded, he just responded instantly. Like, we say what we mean and we mean what we do, but like his body language just said the entire opposite. So I think so I immediately like just kind of excused myself, like acted like I had to take a phone call and just like left. I remember that clearly. I don't know. Have you had any bad sales experiences recently or in the last couple of years or so, Greg?
Yeah, there's a couple I can think of. There was one where actually, I was fresh out of college, excited, because when I first moved to Arizona, I actually sold my car back home to have a little bit of chump change so I can eat and survive and pay bills and rent. And then, a couple of years of being on the bus, being in the heat of Arizona, I was actually able to get, my mom had sent me a little bit of cash. That's like a congratulations for graduating college. So I was excited and I was too anxious. So I went to this auction, it was like an auction, to get a car that was there. So the guy, he pretty much sold me on this, and it was a lemon. Like a week later, like died on me, and I called the shop back to try and talk to him, but I didn't know anything about lemon laws. I didn't know anything because I was just young and excited, so I just kind of let it go. And it got towed from my apartment complex, and I just let the junkyard keep it. I just signed over the title to them and just let them keep it because I was just I was like, what, whatever. But then another time, this actually more recent, within the past maybe year or so, year and a half, you had a guy that was like, hey, are you looking to make some extra money, maybe part time outside of your regular job? Like, okay. And then he got my number, so he said, hey, let's meet at Starbucks. And then as soon as I sat down with him, he pulled out a laptop and showed me a website to buy products from him. Like, but it was no. He was just like, hey, you want to buy this stuff from me? And it turned me off so much. I was like, no, I'm okay. So I just left it. So yeah, it was just more of just like because the way I like to think about it is, again, like you were saying, back like 50 years ago, it was all just about selling things, no customer service, and you don't care if the product is good or not. You just want somebody to buy it and is off your hands. Now, fast forward to the current, you have to build a relationship and rapport with someone. It's more of relational and not transactional. When you actually want to sell something, it has to be a good quality product or service, because again, if you look at it from, you just want to make a quick buck and you sell something that's not good, okay, you made $20 or $100, but then now what? You got to start over again and do the whole product. Versus if you have something that's high quality and you serve someone, you meet their need, and then they will refer someone to you or come back to you, and that could be like a residual type of income for you if you just take your time and slow down and do it right. So yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, and I think right now, kind of there's different kind of sales that are a little bit different from the used car salesman, or like maybe more direct, like, hey, take action now type of sales. I, I what I'd like to ask you is, do you think there's a difference between two names come to mind? There's consultative sales there, and then there is relationship sales there. Do you think there's a difference, or are they kind of one and the same, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I mean, generally, I would think they're sort of the same, because you're consulting with someone, you want to find out their needs and wants and their struggles, pain points, and then you want to match maybe something that will help benefit them or give them some suggestions and tips to help them better. And the same thing with the relationship, as far as relational, that just comes to my mind as far as like being in a couple. Maybe you go to like a counselor or something, and hey, let's see, what are your pain points and what are your happy points? Now we're going to match something to help you guys become stronger. So I can see them as being kind of the same. That's just the way I look at it. What about you?
I think there's like a slight difference, but I think those are kind of the two main types of sales out there right now. So if I kind of really think about it, just with the name entomology, it's like relationship selling. You're kind of trying to build a relationship with this person. You're trying to become ultimately friends with someone. I think is kind of the ultimate goal with relationship selling. You're just trying to become friends, and people buy from people that they like. People buy from people that they know, like, and trust, right? So if you kind of get to know somebody, really start to like them, you see that there's a lot of commonalities, you're more likely to buy from them. But whereas if you're kind of just walking down the street, someone approaches you right off the bat and they just say, hey, buy my stuff, then I mean, there's not going to be as much of a relationship there. And I think as far as consultative selling there, you're acting like a consultant. You're an expert in your field. You're an expert in your area, and you're just people come to you because you're kind of have that expertise in a certain area or a certain knowledge base and whatnot. So they ask like, hey, how can I do this? Or like, what should I do if I'm looking for a car that will go 100 miles per hour and like, you know, you know, 5 seconds flat or something like that. Tesla, but what like they want to kind of come to you because you know the the best thing for this. Let's say you're just kind of known as a car aficionado. People might come to you as a consultant in that area, or people know that you know everything there is to know about baked goods and like you own a bakery, so that you might be their consultant for like having bigger baking jobs and that type of thing. And relationship is just, I think maybe a relationship, and I'm just like ab libbing at this point, really, but I think relationship selling is you have maybe a product or a service that is pretty much a commodity, right? Um, there's so many things that there are so many alternatives for it in today's day and age. But the reason people go with you is because you built that relationship with them over time. For example, realtors, I think, and I could even go on a whole nother tangent here about how real estate and realtors might be going out of business because of some of the technology invented with website, but I won't even go there. But I think realtors in general, everybody knows a realtor, everybody knows an insurance salesman, for example, and it's just kind of a matter of like who you feel more of a relationship with is kind of who you end up going with. What do you think?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I have seen. You said you won't really go into it too much, but those advertisements for like that Homey device. Have you seen that? Like those commercials for like the Homey, which is just cut out the middleman. You know, save $18,000. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I definitely have seen that. So yeah, times are changing. So you just have to adapt to the times and either come up with something new or make something that currently existing better. Just, so yeah, I do
Right.
agree with you that when things start to change, you have to adapt and be able to see that ahead of time, that trend, so you can again adapt to that trend and be, ride the waves together with that trend and not get left behind. But I agree with you with that as far as like consultative versus relational sales. Yeah, but you're both, either one, you have a product or service that you want to present to someone to help solve their problem or their need.
Right. And I mean, if you think about it in today's day and age, like all the knowledge is out there. So it's not like 50 years ago where you could say, hey, I've got this blender and it's the world class blender and it costs $1,000 or so. Like, just trust me, you should pay $1,000 for this blender. The moment like you open your mouth, people are kind of searching. Well, like the moment you look away, I should say, people are probably searching on their mobile phones, or if they say, hey, wait, I want to think about it. Yeah, they're probably thinking about it. And they're immediately going home and doing a Google search and checking things out and so on and so forth. So, so yeah, I guess it's just a matter of like, yeah, things have changed a lot. And then there's social selling there, which is supposedly like selling to people through social media. But but a lot of that is kind of just a subset of relationship selling, I think, as well. And I mean, we could probably talk a while about that, but yeah, it's it's sales. You're kind of getting to know people, trying to help them solve their problem, and I think that's who's going to win in today's market. Whereas 50 years ago, you could try and sell things even if you didn't really care about the person or didn't really have an interest in seeing them succeed. In today's day and age, like if you don't have some kind of vested interest in seeing that person succeed and trying to help them, then people are going to kind of feel that and see that right away and get turned off for it. So I guess kind of the moral of the story there is just is just go ahead and try and help people out. I don't know. What do you think, Greg? Like, do you think that's
Oh,
a
yeah,
rule?
2000% agree with you as far as, there's a saying is if you help enough people get what they want, you in return will get what you want. So it's all about serving, servant leadership where and you need to serve people. The more people you serve, again, in turn, you will get that return back to you. You're not even necessarily thinking about it as far as financially, where you just truly want to have a genuine care to really serve and help people, and you do that enough times, and that will come back to you. It's like Newton's third law: for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, you know, when you go that way, serve, it's going to come back to you as well. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Definitely agree. And yeah, I mean, just to add, I was just going to add to that as far as, rather than add to that, I mean, we kind of talked about the different types of selling, but then there's kind of different stages of selling as well. And like, I think a lot of different people have different stages that are involved, and maybe we can like talk about this aspect of it a little bit more. But I guess the first aspect for a lot of people is prospecting, or just kind of finding out who is your potential client, who isn't. Then setting an appointment is kind of an important aspect as well. And I'm just going up these off of the top of my head, and it's different for every industry, of course. Then after you kind of set the appointment, you want to actually have a presentation, so have something to present to a client. And then finally there's asking for the business, or closing there. And then last but not least, after you close the sale, you kind of have to service the sale. And, you know, and an added little sixth area here is asking for referrals, or some people asking for referrals or asking for additional business might be available for some industries, might not. For others, if you're kind of in a locked community here, like right now, I'm kind of in a role where you don't really ask for referrals, because you kind of have a list set up, or a set territory in place. But do you think there are any other steps that I might have missed there, as far as kind of just steps to the sale there?
No, I think you're definitely right on point. Let's see, because actually I have a book here, and I would highly recommend it for viewers to read. It's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. Do you know this book?
I've
See if people
I'm
can
sorry,
see
I've
it.
heard of that
Okay.
book, and I think I've read parts of it. I haven't read the full thing, so I might have to
Yeah.
borrow
So
that from you.
yeah. So just kind of quickly, you know, just skimming through it. And actually, this was Frank Bettger was actually he knew Dale Carnegie, so Dale Carnegie actually gives a review of this book in the beginning. But then there's just kind of go over the chapter contents. You know, the first chapter is called "These Ideas Lifted Me Out of the Ranks of Failure." Part 2 is the formula for success in selling. Part 3, again, just reading it right off the book: 6 ways to win and hold a confident. 6 ways to win and hold the confidence of others. Part 4 is how to make people want to do business with you. Part 5 is steps in sales, and part 6 is don't be afraid to fail. So, yeah, I've read this book. It's a very simple read, but it's some very good, valuable content that actually can help you have a structure and set up your kind of exactly what you're talking about. But it just goes a little more in depth, you know, with the details of how to set up that structure and what to look for and what to do and not to do. Because he failed in sales, and then he became very successful multimillionaire. So I highly recommend
And
that.
and Greg, we're kind of like over time, but I'm curious, since you have that book right at your desk right now. Can you go to that chapter on like the steps in sales, and just kind of see what his were, because he was in Dale Carnegie's time there, so must have some kind of good advice there, especially if he was kind of a contemporary with him. So
all right, let's see. So this was the steps in sales. That was part 5. So it starts on page 25.
yeah, interested to see what those will all be, but yeah, I mean, again, sales is kind of a necessary evil there. I mean, men and women sell to each other there. When you're trying to start a relationship there, you're definitely kind of showing your best foot forward initially there, and sometimes the facade falls away. Sometimes sometimes you are kind of stays, but yeah, as far as just thinking about like how much sales has changed is kind of interesting as well. And I don't know, like basically when you're meeting and interacting with people, even friends and stuff, they're kind of selling themselves to you. Like, do I really want to kind of interact with this person, or don't I? And kind of go from there. But are you finding anything as far as?
Yeah, I mean, because within the chapter part 5, there's sub chapters. So it's like the sale before the sale, and he just kind of talks about kind of his personal story, and again his life. How he failed and he succeeded, but he failed many times before he was able to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
The secret of making appointments. This is another step, how I learned to outsmart secretaries and switchboard operators. An idea that helped me get into the major leagues. How to let the customer help you make the sale. How I find new customers and make old ones enthusiastic boosters. So, I mean, there's some good stuff in here. Yeah, so that 7 rules I use in closing the sale. So, yeah, I mean, there's some really good stuff. But, yeah, because definitely Dale Carnegie, he probably was his mentor, helped him, he kind of helped him as well. An amazing closing technique I learned from a master salesman.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's a really good, definitely some good stuff in this book. So, yeah, if you guys, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger.
Okay. Well, we're way over time at this point, but it's such an expansive topic there. So, I guess one final thing, one aspect of sales, just any sales in general, I think, is the aspect of rejection. And I don't know if you've checked out this TED Talk at all, but there's a TED Talk just about rejection therapy. I don't know if you've seen that one or not, Greg.
You know what? It sounds familiar. I could have watched it a bit ago. I'm not sure if it's an older one, maybe a couple of years.
It's kind of an older one. I would recommend people check that out. But in addition to that, check out rejection therapy. There's a TED Talk called Rejection Therapy, where a gentleman kind of went out, was kind of very scared of the whole idea of sales, or talking to people and asking them for things and whatnot. So the way he got over it was by deciding to, I won't ruin the entire story there because it's kind of a cool story, but let's just say he went out to get rejected a couple times. And if you kind of look up the TED Talk, probably put it in the description, check that out. But what I would put out there as homework there for people is just think of kind of one ridiculous request that you're going to get rejected for anyway. Go ahead and try and do it this week and just kind of report how that went. So an example might be just go to McDonald's and ask for a steak or something, and just kind of get laughed out of McDonald's or something, or just something silly, or go up to somebody who you kind of find interesting and say something. So ask them to do something for you and just kind of see how that they react. So that would be my homework for you. And or did you have a quote? Oh, well, actually, before we go into the quote, I just want to, again, go ahead and throw out the idea. If you need some motivation or inspiration, definitely check out Greg's blog, planetgreenzen.com. And it's got some healthy products on there to go ahead and help assist you in your journey, finding a positive lifestyle. And go ahead and check out the link that we'll put in the description here a little bit later. So I just want to share that real quick.
Awesome. And actually, before I get to the quote and everything, yeah, I do actually, now that you bring it up, I do remember that story, because the guy, he went out to get rejections. Then eventually he started to get yeses, and went to I think Krispy Kreme and requested to get donuts in the Olympic.
Don't ruin the story.
Okay.
Have to go check it out. Yeah.
Okay, go check it out. Sorry, but yeah, now that you say that, I remember that. So, but anyway, so yeah, if you want, if you're actually looking for a mastermind group to join, if you would like to get qualified for that, Darrell's your guy. So definitely check out the link in the description below. He's looking for accepting applications for this mastermind group, and to see if there's any other like-minded people out there who have some passion and on the same journey, or maybe you are a full-time entrepreneur, you have a great story. So definitely check out the link in the description and connect with Darrell. He'll definitely talk to you and help you out with that.
All right.
But yeah, so the quote of the day that I have is actually from Zig Ziglar. So he was actually very good. If you guys don't know who that is, highly recommend checking him out. You can see videos on YouTube or just read about him. But he says you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
Awesome. And with that great quote, we will go ahead and bring this episode of Inside the Mastermind to an end. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please go ahead and subscribe and like our channel and share it out. If you don't like what you saw, just go ahead and give us feedback on how we can improve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.